Come on into Fox 10 Talks, Tuesday, 3 p.m.
Yeah.
How you doing, Tina?
Just making sure my phone's on silent. How are you?
That's good. That is called preparation right
I
there.
could let it
like
ring. That could make it interesting.
Can I tell you something? I'm feeling very comfy in these chairs.
Are they new?
No, same chairs. I just meant mentally comfy.
Oh.
I've been filling in for Ron Hoon on the Fox 10 Talks in the morning this week.
How's that going?
It's going great. Celeste is so fun to hang out with. It's so cool that I get to do this, and I get to hang out with Celeste first, then I get to hang out with Tina in the afternoon.
Yeah, and then you're on TV somewhere in the
doing
middle.
something in very hot weather and sweating a lot on television.
Yes. How do you do it in the field?
Oh,
With
you
the
act like you don't know.
And, no, seriously, I have never. Not never. I've reported, but very sparingly here in the desert. So how
you're
is
a lot
that?
in the AC.
Yes,
That's what you're saying.
yes.
Yeah.
Not to brag, but
You know, I joked actually with Celeste about this yesterday. Is golf pants? They're the magic to
smart.
reporting because they're very thin. They look nice. But they allow you to just like sweat in the field.
They're moisture wicking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Love golf pants. They are like the reporter pant. When God made golf pants, it was with the reporter
it
in
is
mind.
brutal out there. I give you guys a lot of credit, especially the photogs.
They work so much harder than people give them credit for. The gear is so heavy. I worked with Levi Pettigrew today. Wonderful photographer, as we all know. And we needed to bring in tripod camera and the light kit. So he handed me the light kit. The light kit's so heavy, and that's the lightest of the things.
It's not heavy.
And I'm lugging along the light kit, sweating behind him.
The sticks are so heavy. The tripod, unless we've gotten the lighter ones since then, but the metal ones are really rough. Anyway.
Can I say this, though, Tina? The weather's actually been wonderful. Today was great.
Today has been pretty okay.
Great.
I know.
We've got the 112s on the board coming up next week. Get ready for that. But it's actually been a really nice summer
You know,
so
my
far.
parents are visiting, and they're from the East Coast. And they even said, "Ooh, it feels nice this morning." I was like, "You guys are starting to fit in."
I like this. We're getting into the realm with them. Okay, all right. Well, you know, if East Coasters are okay with 102, then we're doing pretty
Seriously,
good here in
not
Phoenix.
bad,
Not too bad. This is like for them, it's like a 50-degree winter. That would be the comparison. It's a pretty good winter.
That's kind of fair.
We got to talk some news, Tina, because this has been the SCOTUS of it all has been wild. Just precedent after precedent. The big one, obviously, today we're talking about is the Birthright citizenship, 6-3 ruling on that one.
Yep.
It is so fascinating to see all of the different sides of an aisle react to this.
Yeah.
There are people on the right side of the aisle that are livid about this decision. They think this is a travesty. On the left, they're saying, why wasn't this a 9-0 decision? It should have been a 9-0 decision. So interesting to get all of these different perspectives.
And basically, it means now nothing changes.
Yes.
Right? The 14th Amendment just remains the way it is, and we move on.
A big hit, though, to the Trump administration when you think about the fact that this was really the first executive order he signed of this administration. This was the big swing at immigration. To have that be shot down by a Supreme Court where he was a big part in the makeup and the composition of this Supreme Court.
Totally.
That's a big hit to that administration right there. So let's bring in our first guest here, Muzaffar Chishti. He's a lawyer he's a lawyer, MPI Senior Fellow, Director of the MPI Office of the New York University School of Law. I'm going through all of your credentials here because there's a lot on the list. You've got some wonderful credentials here. Appreciate you joining us today and talking all things SCOTUS.
Glad to be with you.
So
you don't have to read it all. It's not into my time.
There you go. Well, so get us started here. What's your first reaction to this decision on birthright citizenship?
I think this was not surprising. People expected this to be a victory for the challengers. There are two surprises. One is how strong this opinion is written by the Chief Justice. He knew he was writing for history, and he wanted to say as clearly as he could. I think the second surprise is that what you hinted out is that some people thought this should have been 9-0. I didn't think it was ever going to be 9-0, but I thought it would be 7-2. And the fact it was only 6-3 is a bit of a surprise. So that's my first takeaway.
It was interesting to hear Speaker Mike Johnson. He was in the middle of a press conference when the news broke about this. His first gut reaction, he said the decision was textualist, originalist, which I thought was sort of an interesting first reaction. Of course, we know which side of the political aisle is on this, but what I think is always interesting about the politics of SCOTUS is, especially on this, about the written word in the Constitution, it depends on which side of each issue you're on, because I think a lot that we've heard from Republicans is they should be looking at the intent, not the written word. But if you were to change the argument to the Second Amendment, the sides flip. Mm-hmm. And I think you have Republicans saying you should be looking at the written word, and you have Democrats saying it's intent. So it seems like no matter what side you're on, you can kind of make an issue work for you.
Well, I think that was why this was surprising. A lot of people thought that the conservative traditional justices, which would be include Alito and Justice Thomas, would side with the originalists, that the word of the Constitution is the word of the Constitution. In fact, for your viewers, if you had to note any 30 seconds of the argument on April 1st, it was an exchange between the Solicitor General and Chief Justice. When the Solicitor General said, when this amendment was written, it was 120 years ago, we are in a new world today. And the Chief Justice interrupted him testily and say, it may be a new world, but it's the same Constitution. That's what the originalists mean. And that's why I think he was able to write it as strongly. And that's why this is a little disappointing that Justice Gorsuch didn't side with that, and other two conservative judges didn't do either.
Now, let me ask for some clarity on something. So this strikes down President Trump's executive order that sought to end birthright citizenship. But does that mean that Congress can't come back later and attempt to make some changes in the same vein? They could try to do something similar. It's just that the Supreme Court is saying you can't do this with an executive order, correct?
The Supreme Court said that you can do it only by a constitutional amendment. Okay. Justice Kavanaugh said Congress could do it, but he is not in the majority. 5-4 said Congress cannot do it, only constitutional amendment can do it. So the president, who was issued, I saw some tweets today that Congress should now take it up and it's easy for them to do it. Many of his conservative Republican leaders, including Governor DeSantis, including Mike Lee, the senator from Utah, who are both lawyers, said you cannot do it. That the Supreme Court has made it clear that the only way to change the status quo is by either by constitutional amendment or by another Supreme Court decision which overrules this decision. That's the clarity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Really interesting conversation. Appreciate all of this. And, I think going forward here, we saw Speaker Mike Johnson say that he is going to be pursuing a constitutional amendment, admitting that this is an extremely uphill battle. I'm not really sure in today's divided world what could ever possibly get 2/3.
Yeah.
I just can't see that happening, but
tough.
It'll be interesting to see what that argument is going forward. Really appreciate the conversation today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
your time. Bye. Yeah, I mean, we'll be talking about that for years and years.
Absolutely.
Even to come.
Let's talk about the heat. We were talking about the weather. And I want to talk about something very interesting, and I want to make sure I get the words right. Operation Summer Heat.
Yes, but it has nothing to do with the temperature.
Nothing to do with the temperature. It's just the summer. Before we get to our next guest here, just want to give a shout out in the chat real quick. Appreciate everyone just sort of jumping in on this. Christine Carroll commenting that the weather is fantastic here.
Yes.
And then we're hearing some other great comments from people on both sides of this, having this conversation that we're talking about birthright citizenship. This seems like something everyone has thoughts on.
Yes.
Everyone's got thoughts on this one.
Especially in Arizona, it's a big deal. Yeah.
And also when we're talking about SCOTUS, I think sometimes people think that SCOTUS is making a decision based on what something should be or what their political opinion on it is. They're looking at a constitution. They're just looking at the written word and seeing if it applies to the law. They're not making a judgment call on whether they think it's right or wrong. It's just whether or not it's legal.
Yes, right.
Interesting there. All right. So let's bring in our next guest, continuing to talk Operation Summer Heat. We have FBI Phoenix Assistant Special Agent in charge, Matt Schaeffer, joining us this morning. Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Tell us about Operation Summer Heat.
Yeah, no, thank you for the invite. Super excited about Summer Heat, and actually this year it's Summer Heat 2.0. So last year, Summer Heat, we had great results. Arrested over 400 violent offenders during the 3 summer months, June, July, August, and this year we're looking to ramp it up and actually improve on those numbers. But Summer Heat 2.0, we're focusing on getting violent fugitives in custody. We're focusing on disrupting drug trafficking within the state, illegal firearms trafficking, rescuing child victims, and disrupting human trafficking operations. And then not to mention also the Indian country component, focusing on getting increased resources out to our Indian country offices to mitigate violent crime out there as well.
Why really ramp up this effort in the summertime?
That's a good question, because and I was actually talking to somebody else today, and they said they had the same question, and they said, I'm from the East Coast. Why do it in the summer? Because everybody in Phoenix, it gets so hot, right? People are inside during the summer. He equated it to people being inside during the winter back in the East Coast. And actually, there's crime in Phoenix is year round. People are outside all the time, even though it is hot. But one of the big things that we're looking at is America 250. There's a lot of things going on this summer, a lot of different events celebrating our country's anniversary. And we're out there in force, pairing with our local partners to make sure that those events are safe for the community to attend.
So there might be a larger threat because you have all of these large outdoor events that are happening.
There's a potential that there could be more threats, but we see and mitigate threats year round, and that's across the board. But yes, I mean, we want to make sure people are comfortable in going to the different activities that are planned, and again, that's why we're out there in force. But then also the other thing too, related to child crimes, that's another big one that kicks off in the summer. I mean, it's year round again, but there's a potential for an increase during the summer months because kids are off school. They have more time to spend online. And it's no secret that a lot of child predators, they spend a lot of time online, and that's how they try to find victims. So our ask from the FBI is that parents remain vigilant and they keep tabs on who their children are talking with online. And if parents see something suspicious about those contacts, please reach out to the FBI, reach out to...
Welcome back on in. We want to continue our conversation here with FBI Phoenix Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Matt Schaeffer.
Yes.
What a wonderful title that is. I always like a title that has like 6 words in it, 7 words.
If you're going to want,
a good one.
I mean, that's a good one to want. Special Agent in Charge. That's a big deal.
Speaking of titles, as we continue our conversation about Operation Summer Heat, did you get to name this one? How does the naming process on these operate? What's the behind the scenes on that?
Well, so I didn't get to name Summer Heat 2.0. However, I did get to name our fugitive surge that, as part of Summer Heat 2.0, we're conducting here in Phoenix. So that is called Operation Can't Beat the Heat. And so essentially that name kind of speaks for itself, right? So
I like that.
Basically the messaging with that is fugitives, we have fugitives that flee to Arizona and Phoenix all the time to try to get away from the law. And so the messaging is, you can't come to our town and try to escape. We're going to find you and we're going to put you in jail.
Why do they come here? Is it because of our positioning and where we are in the country?
Some of it is. Some of it is also too just the fact that there's warm weather all the time, and people want to get away from the harsh elements. But yeah, we do see a lot of fugitive traffic between Las Vegas, Phoenix, and LA. So there's that triangle effect there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see, I'm kind of known here locally in our building for asking the oddball question in the middle of the interview and derailing things. I feel like I have that reputation.
Okay, shoot.
And so, that was my oddball question is, how do you name this and did you name it? But look at that. It started a whole conversation about an operation you did name. So I'm happy we got to that there. What are some of the headlines we should be looking forward to with this operation going forward? What are some of the things that we should learn about your agency in the months ahead?
Well, one of the big ones is our partnerships. And so something the FBI does extremely well is partner with our state and local partners, but then also our other federal partners. We have a variety of different task forces throughout the Valley that focus on a variety of different crimes. I mean, obviously this focus is on violent crime, but in association with that, other headlines would be the arrests that we're conducting and just the numbers that we're putting up. Definitely there will be follow-up press on it. And as far as the different operations that we're out and conducting, but if I could sum up Operation Summer Heat in a few words, it would be the focus on the local partnerships, targeting violent crime to keep the streets safe.
All right. Well, thanks for all the hard work you do.
Appreciate it.
We really appreciate your time today as well. Special Agent in Charge Matt Schaeffer, thank you.
No problem.
Take
Have a
care.
good day.
Thanks. You too.
Well, switching gears here now, as we are.
Aren't we always?
We're just constantly in a gear switch.
I wish
That's
we
what we're
had
doing.
like a swoosh or like some kind of animation.
Dave, you listening closely on that? We need some swooshes.
Switching gears. How many times do
New
we
gears.
say that in the TV world? It's a cliche. It's one of
It
those
is a
things.
massive cliche. I love all of the TV cliches. One of my favorite ones, though, is in the meantime. That's something we say all the time in TV world.
Meantime.
Meanwhile. Yeah,
Yes,
like
we
that's
do
a
that
little
a
transition
lot.
in the middle of the
I
story.
try not to do the cliches. Now I'm going to add that to my list.
Yeah.
Ugh.
We can go through a whole list.
I know,
we
there's
could do
a lot.
We could do 20 minutes on
In the comments, let us
TV
know your
cliches.
most hated TV news cliches.
the things reporters say.
We'll have to put it on a list on the wall so we can try to avoid.
It's 11 p.m. Do you know where your kids are?
That's a good one. We should bring that one back, actually.
We should bring it back.
I think that needs to be back in the rotation, personally.
We want to bring in our next guest right now. This has been a fun show because we're just kind of going from guest to guest and learning different experts and all these
bouncing
different
around,
things, bouncing
bebopping
around. So we're bringing in a CEO right now, Todd Furniss. So you're the CEO of AI Squared. And first, how you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing dandy. How are you today?
Good.
I like that. Dandy's a great word.
Wait, how old is this company?
It depends. It feels like it's expressed in dog years, but we went public about 60 days ago.
Okay, I was going to
Congrats.
say, because this AI world is kind of new, up and coming. I wasn't sure where you guys are on the spectrum of when you started.
Well, it's a good question. We formed the company about a year ago, but its genesis started in a related company called M42 in 2019. Our founder, the chairman, actually did some of the preliminary academic work for Nobel Prize winner in AI, Geoffrey Hinton, back in the 70s and 80s.
Oh.
So we've been in this space since, I think is right about the time that Methuselah was born.
Just for a little bit now. Well, there's a bunch of stuff we can talk to you about. I mean, just the world of AI, but I know you also have a background in healthcare, and so I want to talk health advice with you right now. And these AI chatbots, what are you seeing as far as an uptick in AI? Are people really turning to this and asking doctor level questions to their chatbot?
Absolutely. Unequivocally,
Really?
no questions. Oh, yes. There's a study that came out that said about 14 million people. I think it's way north of that. It's a very large number.
I can say that I personally do this
Tina.
with the thought that nobody could ever see the things that I'm asking. You know, there's this assumed privacy, I guess. Is that the case, or is this? Can somebody pull up my file and like read what I'm sending?
Let me do that right now.
This is an important question for two reasons. First of all, what all the science shows is that people feel much more comfortable speaking to computers than they do human beings.
Yeah.
Because they either are shy or embarrassed, which is certainly not the case, not your case, but they're reluctant to disclose things because they feel like they might be judged. They get awkward. They don't like, disclosing intimate details about their health or their physical body, whatever it is. And so they like the idea of being able to talk to a computer and get a response. Interestingly enough, a large healthcare system here in the U.S. did a study, and they said, hey, if you had a choice between getting a diagnosis and a recommended course of action, a protocol, and you had your choice between an AI only, AI plus a doctor, and a doctor only, what would you choose? 80% of the respondents said AI only.
Wow.
So this is where I feel this all the time, is like, I'm in a different world than everyone else. Like,
you wouldn't...
I am a 97-year-old man. I want the human connection on everything. Like, I hear that and I'm just like, what?
No, here's the thing. I want the human connection. I want to speak face to face to a doctor, but I want it quick. I want to know now, in the next 5 seconds, what the answer is to my question. And I can get that from AI.
You can, but there's also another thing, which is it may be inconvenient or impossible for you to get to a doctor anytime soon. And so what you want to do is get a pretty good answer. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want a pretty good answer now, which is better than a perfect answer in a month when you get in to see your primary care physician.
Yes.
Or 2 weeks, whatever the time is. And the other thing is expense. For a lot of people, that cost is something they don't want to bear. And if it's not life-threatening, you say, hey, I've got this problem, I've got a little congestion, I got a little bit of headache, and you put that information into Anthropic or Perplexity or Claude or one of the tools, and you get an answer pretty quickly. Or what some people have gone so far as to do is that they have the agent actually ingest their lab results or their images and say, tell me what's going on. But I'll give you an example of something that came across my attention. A buddy of mine had a problem with his foot. And he said, I'm going to get an x-ray. And so he looked it up and he said, what's the cost of an x-ray if it's a self-referral and it's a cash pay? So I'm going to go in and pay cash. This is what the assertion was. And get an x-ray and look myself. And so he finds out that the cost of an x-ray for cash payers is less than $100. And guess what? That includes the radiologist report.
Wow.
Now, if you were to go through your insurance company, that may cost $400, $500 or more. And the radiologist report might be on top of that. But here's the thing. You can then take that image and ingest it into the AI agent and get an answer. And what they're finding is with radiology and pathology and cardiology, those results are really, really good. In fact, they find stuff that most doctors or many doctors would never see. There was just a report in the journal about 440,000 ECGs that were ingested into an engine, and they came up with new ways to identify stress markers that would indicate a high risk of cardiac arrest. Right? That's a big thing.
Color me the skeptic in the room, and I think skepticism is important in this world. But I understand what you're saying, and I have seen those too, where it's pretty good, and it's able to find things that the human eye isn't able to make, and it's able to make these connections and things like that. At the same time, it's also able to completely misdiagnose it too and be wrong. And I think we see this as we've all interacted with AI and different things. It can duff math sometimes, like basic math. It can get wrong. You ask it to make a graphic and chaos looms, right? So this is where I get worried about relying on it too much too quickly. At the same time, the part you said there about it not being a life-threatening thing, a sniffles, I'll tell you this, my left knee has been killing me for like a year. And I've gone to my doctor twice for other issues, and I keep forgetting to mention the knee. It doesn't come up. I'm too much of a chatterbox, and we start going on these things. So I've asked AI about my knee.
There you go.
It doesn't give me a great answer, but that's because I don't have enough information to provide it.
You need a scan.
Yeah, I'm like, my knee hurts, and it's like, okay, it could be a million things. But that's, I think, where I have a little bit more maybe trust with it, because the stakes are so much lower.
Yeah, you have to be, smart about what you're getting, the information it's giving you.
Well, you have to be responsible. It's much like anything. You can have a glass of wine, but you don't drink it responsibly.
Exactly.
You go drive, right?
Well said.
So the thing that I think is interesting is, and I've experienced this myself, I'm exchanging prompts and getting responses with my preferred AI agent of the day, and all of a sudden it's going off the rails. It's I literally typed in, "You must be having a bad day today."
It can happen.
It's not
We
perfect.
all have bad days.
Yeah.
It was hungry.
Now you guys are young, so you might be saying, "Dude, what's happening here?"
Yeah.
For
What's
a
the
like
deal?
me, I'm like, what on earth is going on? Are you having a bad day? And then he says, and then the chat agent, of course I say he, but the chat agent comes back and says, "You're absolutely right. I messed that completely up."
Yeah, good.
That's funny.
Well, hey, Todd Furniss, really appreciate you joining us from AI Squared, having this fun
you.
conversation.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Todd. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.
Really interesting conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to get this knee looked at.
Just get a scan. You could do it for a few $100. You don't have to go to the doctor. You can get it yourself.
Okay. Well, this is really...
Simon Med.
I've been empowered by Fox 10 Talks.
There you go. The more you know.
This is really just built as a self-help tool for Steve Nielsen, Fox 10 Talks.